Okay, here's a word problem that is very similar to what will be on the exam and very similar to what we did in class this week. We said if we have 7 boxes of spaghetti. So here's my beautiful boxes of spaghetti. And if I lined these all up, the width of them all together would be 24 and 64 centimeters. Okay, so that is the width of 7 boxes. Now, if I were to ask you about 9 boxes, what is the width of 9 boxes? Well, could you add on 2 additional boxes? Sure, if you know the value of one of the boxes. Therefore, our very first operation is going to be to take the 24 and 64 centimeters and divide it by 7. Why? Because that will tell us the value of one box. Okay? So now with dividing by, oh my goodness, when dividing by with decimal, the very first step is to bring up your decimal. Okay? And just like long division, in any case, we have to make sure that our alignment is in order. So does 7 go into 20, or does 7 go into 2? No, it does not. Does 7 go into 24? Why, yes, Miss Nogdave, it does. It goes in 3 times, and I end up with 21 and 3 left over. Okay? Now, does 7 go into 3? No, but I can certainly bring down that 6. Does 7 go into 36? By George, yes, it does, Mrs. Nogdave. If I multiply that 7 by 5, I end up with 35. 1 left over. Bring down that 4. Does 7 go into 14? Yes, indeed it does. 2 times. 14, nothing left over. Now remember, if I wanted, I could add as many zeros as necessary after the decimal point, after the digits, and I could continue dividing. However, we have made it to the 100th house, and in this case, we end up nicely with a 0, so we don't need to go any further. What this tells us is that one box is 3 52 centimeters in terms of its width on its own. Now I need to find out what it is for 9 boxes. Therefore, if this is the value of 1, I can then take that 3 52 centimeters and multiply it by 9. Now the rule for multiplying decimals is that the decimal point, whatever is in the problem, and in this case there's 2 digits to the right of the decimal point, needs to be reflected in my answer. So let's finish out this multiplication. It's hard to write and hold my phone. Okay, bring down my decimal point. Now again, we do not do alignment in multiplication. In multiplication, we look how many digits are to the right of the decimal point. That needs to be reflected in my answer. Therefore, I come to this side and I say 1 digit, 2 digits behind the decimal point, and my decimal goes right there. Therefore, my final answer is 31 and 68 centimeters is the width of 9 boxes of spaghetti. I don't know why you would be lining up 9 boxes, but Math and Focus wants to make sure we have real life application. Okay, another word problem that is very similar to the one that we will see on our test is this sort of one where it's asking you to identify parts of a whole. So it says, oh, of course, let me get ready here. Okay, it says they have a piece of metal which is 6 5/4 hundredth yard in length. Okay, so here's our piece of metal. And then it says that it is cut into 2 pieces. Okay, let's cut the metal into 2 pieces. However, it says that one piece is twice as long as the other. Now, we grappled with this in class the other day. So when it says we cut it in 2 pieces, it doesn't tell us that they are even pieces. And then the second bit of information tells us that they are not even. One piece is twice as long. Therefore, if I know that one piece has to be twice as long, I can actually cut this into 3 pieces. Essentially, I'd still be just cutting it in half. And then consider that 2 parts of this are now, when compared to the 1 bit, twice as long as the first bit. So then what I need to do mathematically is take the 6 and 54/100ths and divide that into 3, knowing that part 2 and 3 are actually 1 cut. Okay, so here's 1 piece and here's the other piece. But then I just do my math as I normally would. Bring up that decimal point. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 6, 0. Bring down your 5. 3 goes into 5. Well, just 1 time. 2 left over. Bring down my 4. 3 goes into 24. Well, it goes in 8 times. And it goes in evenly, so nothing left over. So what does this tell me? Well, this 2 and 18/100ths is the value of one of these 3 parts. And essentially, again, just 2 parts that were cut. So that means this is 2 and 18/100ths. If I can put my decimal point in there. This is 2 and 18/100ths, and this is 2 and 18/100ths. But we are not done yet. Of course not with Math and Focus. So, excuse me, what happens next is I know that the smaller value is this. So the smaller part is indeed 2 and 18/10 yard long. But to solve for the larger portion, I know that this is the larger portion. Now I have to do some addition. 2 and 18/10 plus 2 and 18/10. Or of course, I could have done multiplication and 2 and 18/10 times, or hundredths. Oh my goodness, people. 2 and 18/100ths times 2. But in this case, I'm doing addition. Okay. And I end up with the larger piece being 4 and 36/100ths. Okay. And the original question was indeed, what is the length of the longer piece? So by dividing it into 3 parts, that only works because it said the longer piece is twice as long as the shorter piece. So although I'm just cutting it into 2 separate pieces, I could find the value of that by dividing it by 3. Okay, and there is a problem very similar to that on the test.